Okay, so today we are going to cover enhancements made in no particular order, and we're going to start. We're going to go in the order that was presented in the PDF document. So again, you can go ahead and download this off of the GibbsCAM website. It's the What's New document that covers everything in the order that we're going to talk about here. So um, again, you can just go ahead and look at this at your leisure afterwards. Also, I am recording this and we will post it up on our YouTube website. So that will be available by visiting youtube.com/Daystrom Technologies after today. Okay. Um, the thread milling on the left here is the old interface, and on the right is the new. So you can see that they've added quite a bit of functionality here to the standard thread milling process, and I'm going to be going over all these options so it makes it clear exactly what has been done here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So if I open, you can see that I already have an operation here. If I open this, you see actually what we see right here. So one of the things that's been added is prior to today, you could only go top down. In other words, you can only create the thread from the top to the bottom. There's now a bottom up, so that if I redo this, now it's starting down here and working its way up. Or I can switch back down. I can also do a right hand or a left hand thread as buttons now. These actually existed before, but they were called clockwise and counterclockwise, so they changed the terminology to be a little bit more straightforward than before. Okay. Another thing that they've added here is taper angle. You used to only have a straight thread capability in the standard. Now you can also pick BS, PT, and MPT pipe threads, and it puts the standard taper for those types of threads on there. So if I regenerate for that, you can actually see the taper that has been put on for pipe threads here. Or I can switch to other and put any arbitrary angle that I want. And I put 5 degrees here in this particular case. So another option to expand the capabilities that did not exist before. Okay. And let me change this back. Now, some other things they've added. They've got a finish cut diameter and a material diameter. You can see that these values are the same by default. But if I change, I'll change my material diameter to be twice what the finish cut diameter is. Then I'm going to switch on this constant cut here. I'll talk more about this option here in a second. But if I hit redo here at this point, you can see now that we actually can come in from the side, take off a little bit, and then come in with a finished pass. So it's made 2 passes based on this material diameter and the finish cut diameter. The thread height radius is just really a readout. It's the material diameter minus the finish cut diameter divided by 2. Okay, and then it also automatically picks a good clearance diameter, which you can override if you like at this point always. Okay, also. Now another thing that we've added here under constant cut is constant load. Now this may look familiar to some of you that have done thread milling, right? Because in terms of turning. So really they just stole this from the, not thread milling, but the OD thread, ID thread operations that are in turning. Okay, so so now you can do also constant load. I'm going to switch it out and hit redo. And you can see now if I zoom up here, you can actually see how it takes a larger bite on the outside and then makes them progressively smaller in order to maintain that constant load. And again, that was borrowed from the turning portions of things that existed before. I'm going to switch this back to just one finished pass. And let's get a top-down view to explain the next thing that we have here. Entry and exit angle are set at 45 degrees right now. I'm going to set this at 0 degrees for both the entry and exit and redo this to hopefully explain this better. So what this means is I am going to, if I set it to 0, so here's the entry, I'm going to come in right to where it starts and then start doing the thread. Likewise, at the exit, which is right here at the bottom, I'm going to go straight out. Now, if I set this back to 45 for each, and redo it, that's an incremental value. Okay, so in other words, it's saying I'm going to start here, okay, and I'm going to go, well, actually, it's better seen here, but it's saying it's the incremental value from this point to this point. If you just look from center, draw a line here to there, is 45 degrees. Maybe clearer if I put it 90 degrees. But again, all this kind of control did not exist before. Okay, now you can see that it's added this arc, and also it's added the arc automatically. It's automatically determined what that radius is. So this, from this point to here, is 90 degrees. Okay, I can also override this. I can put, for instance, it could be ½ an inch on the radius for this. And now it'll force the radius to be, and again, this is an incremental 90 degrees. So from this line to this line is 90 degrees. Okay, I'll set this back. Sorry, was there a question?
I think we're not getting, the streaming is not updating on this end, or we're not seeing what you're seeing.
Okay, what are you looking at right now? Do you see a top-down view of this thread?
Yeah, but nothing has changed. It's like it's frozen in time.
It's right before you changed the entry and exit angles.
Okay. Let me try to change it back. I'm going to change it back to 0. And now we should see straight lines entering and exiting. Has that updated?
No. Nope.
Okay, hold on just 1 second. I'm going to see if I can switch to a faster, hopefully a faster thing here. Okay. Bear with me just a second. Okay, so I just switched to what hopefully is faster. I switched to my phone. Are you looking at my screen still?
Yeah, it hasn't moved.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop and start sharing again. Let me know if you see anything different here. Dave, is there anything different?
We're looking at the white Meet Now screen.
You're looking at the what?
The white Meet Now screen.
The initial splash screen before you start sharing.
Hold on a second. Is this, can you see my screen now?
There you go.
All right. Are you looking at straight lines coming in and out on this path?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now I'm going to change it to 45 degrees and regenerate it. And you tell me as soon as you see a change here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do see a change?
Yes.
Okay. So I switched to my phone for the hotspot here, which is apparently faster than the one I was on previously. So I'm going to stick with this. Okay. But essentially all I'm showing here is the fact that I can go and say this is an incremental angle I want. I can override what I want the radii to be coming in and out. You know, if I redo this, I'm sorry, I want to change them both to 90. Redo this. Right, you can see that I have 90-degree arcs coming, a 90-degree arc coming in, and a 90-degree arc going out. And this is now forced to be a ½ inch in radius. So there's a lot more control on the entries and exits than there were before. Is everyone still seeing my screen okay, Dave?
Yep.
Okay, great. So hopefully that makes that clear. This is the same as it's always been, right? The rapid planes, top of the thread, bottom of the thread, and that sort of thing, okay? And also, I've already talked about the constant cut and the constant load. However, I'm not sure if you guys saw that, so I mentioned it was borrowed from turning. Dave, did you see that portion of the demonstration, the difference between constant cut and constant load?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't need to show that again?
No.
Okay, great. And then finally, they also added in a last cut. So, yeah, notice I have it set to 0.01. So if I redo this, and I'll just say one finish pass and redo it. Okay, so if I redo that, in fact, let me make it a little simpler here. It's showing that, okay, I've come in 0.01 away, and then I've done one more pass inside. Okay, and then I can also add spring passes. So I can add like 3 spring passes, 3 victory laps if I want, which won't really show up here, but I'm going now, the final cut, I'm going around 3 times to go ahead and clean that up here at this point. Okay? And I'll switch it back to the standard. Okay, everyone with me so far on that? Okay?
Yes.
All right, now I'll show you one other thing that's been added, and that's actually in the tooling area. Right now, I just have used the form tool to create these threads, but they've now added a full profile thread mill. So now I can go and say, you know, this is 20 inches per minute. Notice the preview here, right? You actually see multiple teeth now. So I'll say, let's do like 20 teeth. And there you see, hopefully see that the tool profile has been updated. Everyone see that okay? So now if I go and I put that tool down on top of this instead of using the form tool, and I redo it, you can see that it's actually just one pass. And in fact, if I go and simulate this, okay, so there's the part. You can actually see that full tool coming in and rounding about. I'm just kind of stepping through this, rounding out and exiting them. So the full profile thread mill did not exist before. This is brand new here in this release. So now you can actually, you don't have to trick it like you did before. Okay? So that kind of covers all the enhancements made to the thread mill process, which were actually quite extensive. So I'm going to change hats here, and I'm going to talk about some of the enhancements made to contour.
Hi.
Yes.
We have a frozen screen again.
Okay.
I don't think you're why.
Hold on just one second, gentlemen. All right, I'm going to stop and start this. Tell me if and when you see a change, please. Hold on.
There you go.
Okay, so you should be looking at a new part. I moved on to contour enhancements now. Okay. All right, we're good?
Good.
All right, great. So, what has been changed in contour? Throw these away. We'll start from scratch. So I'm taking the contour process, dropping this tool down onto it. You'll notice that there's a new tab now called Offset. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. And let's just start out with the way it used to be. I'm going to pick this left-hand rectangle, and I'm going to pick the outside circle so that it generates a toolpath on the outside, and I'm going to go ahead and say do it. Right? That's nothing new, right? It went and generated a toolpath on the outside of things. But what is new is I can now control pick, and I'll pick in the middle of the left side of this second rectangle. And now at this point, you'll notice that there's a button here called offset. And I'm going to click on cut outside. Okay? And I'll do a conventional cut on both. Now I'm going to redo this. And now you can see that I couldn't do this before, right? I would have had to do contour twice to have this kind of control. So now I'm saying cut both these rectangles on the outside, and you can see that it has indeed done that. And it also picked up where I picked on the second rectangle, which is right here. And it picked up where I picked on the first rectangle, which is right here. So that kind of functionality did not exist before. I could also switch this. I can now say let's cut on the inside and redo. Now you can hopefully see that these two toolpaths are on the inside of the rectangles instead of the outside. Everyone with me on that?
Michael, we're frozen again.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay. Dave, let me know when you can see a toolpath on the inside of these rectangles, please.
We're there.
Okay, great. So again, I switched this to cut inside, but now I'm going to switch it to cut outside. And I'm going to click on this box that says alternate side for nested shapes. Okay? Well, actually I'm not. I'm going to leave it off for right now. And I'm going to say cut outside, and I'm also now going to control pick this little rectangle here. And I'm going to redo it. Okay? So you can see what's happened here is I said cut outside, so it's literally going to cut outside on all the shapes, which is probably what I want for this. But if I go alternate side, alternate shape for nested shapes, this little rectangle is a nested shape. So if I hit redo, it's going to try to put it on the inside of the rectangle, because that's, so in other words, it'll go outside, then inside. And if I had another one on that, then it would try to go outside, okay? So, but I'm going to turn this off again because I want to force it to be all outside cuts on everything. Is the screen updating keeping up with this?
So far.
Okay, great. And then finally, I mentioned right now we're doing a conventional cut. So when it's coming in here, it's going here this way, right, to the left. I could switch it to climb. You know, it'll look the same here, but now the tool will be going to the right instead of the left. So all these are brand new to this particular thing. Now I'm going to unselect everything, and I'm just going to pick like on this spline, and I'll pick on the line. Okay, so I'll pick on the line, and I'm going to say on the offset thing, start extension of one, end extension of one. Okay, I'll say center line, redo it, and I'm showing you this because it's a bug. It should actually add 1 inch here and 1 inch here. I've already got an IR onto it, but I just wanted to make you aware that they added this. It's simply not working right now. So hopefully that particular bug will be fixed in a second, or not in a second, but in a little while. I'm sorry, what's that?
Does it matter which side of the line you've got picked with the the little yellow circles on either side of the line?
I've got the same extension on for both the start and the end. So again, I've already reported this. So
I'm picking the yellow circle that's not in the middle. The yellow circle that's on your tool.
Right.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Try redo there and see if it extends the lines.
Okay, so I'm picking a circle on both sides. It's still not doing any
Doesn't make it.
connection. Yeah. I've tried just about everything. I mean, obviously one workaround is just to move your markers, you know, and then do it. But I mean, this is supposed to do it for you. So at any rate, hopefully I have an answer on this soon and a solution. Okay.
Okay.
All right, great. So, I've had a lot of people talk about enhancing the contour to multiple shapes, and now we have it. Okay. So, what I'm going to do now is move on to some VoluMill enhancements that were made. Okay. And hopefully we're looking at a new screen here. Does everyone see the change? Dave, are we up to date?
Yes.
Okay, great. Fantastic. All right. So, this is a qualitative thing. They've added a few things. Now, I don't know how much any of you have used the VoluMill before, but it was what's known as a slotting algorithm. So I've got a top-down view just looking at the first VoluMill operation. And it actually did a helix entry right here. And then it starts to create a slot that it grows from and doing that, okay? That was always its default behavior, okay, before. But now they've added a new functionality whereby they say, hey, if I'm going in a pretty large area, I'm going to go and do a spiral, okay, like a 2D helix out from that as far as I can, and then I'll go ahead and switch to the slotting algorithm because that's much more efficient than doing that. So if everyone kind of keeps an eye on this particular area right here to see how it looks right now, okay, all I'm going to do is load this process up, and it's going to be running under the new algorithm now. So if I redo this, hopefully that becomes obvious. You see right here? Okay. Is everyone, has the screen updated, Dave? We're good? Dave?
Yeah, we're updated.
Okay, great.
We're good.
So you can see it's entered here, and then it's done this spiral pattern out until it essentially runs out of room, and then it takes over the old algorithm that it always had for VoluMill. Okay, so it's not a whiz-bang thing, but it will make in general, especially if you have larger areas, it'll make your VoluMill pattern more efficient and machine it in less time than before. Okay.
Perfect.
So they tweak things a little bit. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but on the time, it took a little bit of time, like I don't know, maybe 20 seconds or so to generate that. This is not an extensive one, but they also made another enhancement, which is kind of nice if you have something that really cranks for a while. Like suppose I just changed the feed rate, right? Or the spindle speed or something like that, but really the geometry hasn't changed or anything else. Well, before, if you did that and you hit redo, it would actually regenerate everything because it didn't matter what kind of change it was, it would just go and crank it all. Okay, now if you're making feed and speed change and I hit redo, it comes back much faster, okay, because it doesn't regenerate everything from scratch like it used to. So a little performance enhancement there. Okay, and probably now, in my opinion, one of the biggest things they added to the VoluMill is if you've ever used VoluMill, you probably use something like this, use a milling advisor. Does everyone see that pop up here on top of the GibbsCAM? Okay. So what you would have to do is you'd have to run this third-party application specifically made for VoluMill, put in the necessary data, and then cut and paste stuff over into your GibbsCAM one value at a time. Okay? So instead of doing that now, we don't need that anymore. I can go to Technology Expert, and I can go and pick whatever kind of material I want, change the hardness, put in, really it's the same, pretty much the same as before, okay? But it also automatically loads in my tool information, so I don't have to type that into the milling advisor anymore. It just takes it straight from here. I can specify, you know, it takes the type of holder that you specified if you did, whether it was coded or not coded and that sort of thing. And then it gives you your recommended feeds and speeds right here. I can then say just check all and then apply checked, and it'll substitute all that information in for me in all these boxes all at once. So that's a big time saver, and also it's less prone to error. It used to be a, you know, kind of a royal pain to just go and pick one value, copy this, Control C, go over here, get an appropriate box, Control V, paste. You know, a process that took 5 minutes before and will now take about 10 seconds. So to me, that's a big deal from a user standpoint. Okay. And then the other thing I want to, I don't have an example on this, but let me just kind of scroll down here for you. Another thing that they mentioned is that open face milling, VoluMill, for pockets that have like an open end, okay, where you're not helixing it or doing the helix or ramp entry in. They claim that the cycle time for those kinds of situations can be reduced by up to 60% with this new algorithm. I personally have not tested that claim as yet, but that's what they're saying. So if you found performance, well, actually it's not a performance issue per se, it's actually saying the actual cycle time will be reduced by up to 60%. In other words, the time at the machine will be reduced by up to 60% on open face pockets. So again, unsubstantiated at this point from my perspective, but that is the claim. Okay. All right, let's talk about a few more things, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go down here. Okay, there have been some enhancements made to the data exchange. So if I hop back into here, I'm going to go File, Open, just to get a list of things. Okay, now you used to, and this was a paid option, but you could always open a UGS part file, you could always open a Catia part file, I'm missing one here, just 1 second, back here. Catia version 5 and Step. Okay, those were always options that we had, but now there's a company called Spatial, and they're based out of Broomfield, Colorado. In fact, they're a customer of ours, that has thrown their hat into the ring. So they now have their own NX part file translator. They now have their own Catia version 5 translator, and they now have their own step translator. These are in addition to the step translator that existed previously and the Catia translator that existed previously. Now their claim to this, I think one of the main claims here is, let me zoom up here a little bit. Everyone, you should be looking at a PDF file again. Their claim to this is that the PMI, your product manufacturing information, such as datum targets and GD&T, geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, is supported much better with their translators than it is with the other translators that were available before. So if having the actual manufacturing information available to you there in your GibbsCAM is important to you, then this would be a big deal to you. Now, I should preface this by and remind you that all of these options, the Catia, the NX, and the Step, were all always optional options. Okay, in other words, you pay more to read an NX file or a step file. These are independent of those, and they are also additional pay-for items. Okay, so you could get the non-spatial step translator, for instance, and not have the spatial translator, or vice versa. Okay, so it's a pick and choose kind of thing. But now you have more choices. You have 3 more choices on the quote direct translators unquote. Okay, everyone with me on that?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, great, fantastic. And I'm just going to kind of wrap up with some odds and ends here, some of which are not really demonstratable, especially on a webcast, but rendering performance. So you're doing your OpSim or machine simulation, previously known as cut part render. The performance of those was supposedly greatly increased, and as experienced users, I'm sure you know, if you got a lot of toolpaths, it could take quite a bit of time to wait through the cut part render before. So they don't quantify how much they've increased it. They simply say it has been, quote, significantly improved, unquote. So I'm hoping to test that out myself here on some of the more complex parts. But again, that's the point. Let me hop back into GibbsCAM and just kind of generate something here for you real quick. Oops. Well, sorry, it just blew me out. But let me fire it up here real quick. This is a new release. So, back to where I was. I'm just going to use a profiler and extract this geometry real quick. Let's pick some of this geometry, and you'll notice that they've added, when I pick some of the wireframe geometry and I right click, and it says show properties of selected. Okay, so now they've added something like they have in previous releases that's analogous to the operation navigator, or operation manager rather, or the tool manager or the process manager. They kind of put this like little spreadsheet with the various data on all the selected geometry that you pick. And now you can then pick and choose. For instance, I'll go and pick this row and this row, and I'll say, you know, instead of those being walls, I want them to be air. Let's apply that to those selected items. And you can see it's up here, there's columns, so they say air instead of wall. And in fact, if I unselect, you can see that it has indeed gone and changed that to the air color, which is red, if you've ever used that feature. But again, just a way for you to do global changes in a much better fashion. Before, I would have had to pretty much do these one at a time, right? And now I can go and just change them en masse. So, you know, a relatively minor change, but could save you a lot of time. Okay?
We love it.
All right. Let me open up another example here. Bear with me. Okay. So, in the whole manager, and I don't know how often you use that, but I'm going to go here into my whole manager, which has been run previously on this part. And if I pick on any particular, I'll pick on H1 here, the first hole here, and I right click. They've added some additional things on the right click, such as hold groups. So if I had more than one group, I could switch the group that it belonged to. which would then determine how it was processed. And also they put in the fit columns here, so if I fit columns, now all the data, you know, it's not scrunched up, just like an Excel spreadsheet. So that's a relatively minor thing. But one of the other things they did was on the whole editor. So this was actually added in the last release, okay, but they've enhanced this a little bit. So if I go into the whole editor, I can see that this is a compound whole. Again, this was added in the last release, okay? But let me close this out. Just this, so we're clear on what we're looking at here, okay? So one of the other things they've added is if I go and I change any particular segment, I can override here, and I make some changes, and then I say, oh, you know what, I want to go back to what I had at the very beginning. I can hit this reset whole definition, and it will go back to what it was before. So I'll just do that. Okay, so there's an oops button that didn't exist before. Another thing they added is I can now, it'll now read out which segment you're on. So it's telling me there's 4 segments. And I can go down and go to the next segment. Okay, now I'm on segment 2. Okay, now I'm on segment 3. Just to make things a little bit more clear than before. But probably, to me, the biggest deal that they've added in the compound whole, which did not exist before, is this button right here that says Profile to WG, or which means WG is work group. So if I hit this and I go into my work group, I can see it's made a new work group, and it's got that profile of this compound whole. Now you may be wondering, well, why did it put it on that plane? Because now I can go ahead and make a form tool from this. It's in the right orientation for me to make a form tool of it. Okay, so if I pick this, and I'll just make a new tool here real quick, 2D form tool, right? So it's that quick now to make the compound whole. There's really no way to do that before other than to manually cut and paste values from that dialog box and create lines, you know, one segment at a time. So if you use compound holes and you want to make custom tools, they've made life a lot easier for you now. Okay, so that's actually the end of my dog and pony show. Again, I want to reiterate, look for this in future sessions, that there is a section which is quite extensive on 5-axis. Some of the things that they've done here, but again, I need to generate some example files which are not available right now, illustrating exactly what these points are that go beyond just the PDF. So that will be available to you shortly. However, everything that we've talked about here today will be on our YouTube site at youtube.com/Daystrom Technologies by the end of the day, and that covers everything except the 5-axis milling and the B-axis turning. Again, it's my understanding we don't do B-axis turning anyway. However, that supplementary video will also include some examples of the enhancements made to B-axis turning if you're interested in watching that as well. So that's the end of my dog and pony show, ladies and gentlemen. Are there any further questions other than what we've talked about here?
No, I think we're covered.
Okay, great. So I'm going to hand it back to Dave then. Dave, I'll terminate the meeting unless you have anything further for me at this point.
Well, I think that's it. Mike, thanks very much. You go ahead and end the meeting.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Very good.